Hey guys, I wanted to make sure everybody knew to add their anesthesia modifiers. I put mine on the screen page. It's page 73 of the 2021 version of the CPT book. You're definitely going to need to know all these modifiers. They're either on the front cover of your CPT book over here, or they're in the back of your HIPICS book. So be sure and have those moved to the codes that you're going to code for anesthesia, because it's super important to have those. I was working on and lost track of time of the Part A of the CPC certification exam. We had somebody taking it this weekend, and they remembered quite a bit of what was on their exam. Everybody gets usually a different version. We know of A, B, and C, and so she took the A version of the exam this weekend, told us a lot about what was on it, and I was working up a worksheet for everybody to have with the vocabulary and some of the coding stuff that was going on during her exam, so that everybody can keep an eye out. If they get exam A or any version of the CPC certification exam, they'll have that information down. So here is one vocabulary term that was on her exam. Oops. Be sure and let me know what y'all want to look at in the live today if there's something specific, but I was going to give you everybody an update of what was on her exam. And this was one of the vocabulary terms. So if you don't have it, put this in the front of your musculoskeletal section of your CPT book, the word and definition. You don't have to make it as wordy as I have, but just a couple of words to let you know where it's at and what it does. It's always super helpful during the exam. Anything you can do on your part to look up that particular bone, where it's found, would always be very helpful. Of course, our famous question of what Medicare covers in Part A, B, C, and D. Be sure you have those listed out in the front section of your CPT book. I say put it in front of the E&M section. Any white spaces you find in the beginning of this book would be real helpful to write out the list, anything before the red. And one of her questions was our famous one about which part of Medicare pays for nursing facilities. And we know it's Part A. Here's another vocabulary term that was on her exam, the venous valves. So be sure you know what they do. It probably makes you think that of cardiology, that kind of thing, since it's a valve. Oops, sorry, I got a thing pop up on my camera here. So make sure you have that vocabulary term down and what it does. Thanks, Jam. I appreciate any kind of sharing. It all helps. I'm not part of the creator fund yet, but once I hit 10,000, I will be. But any kind of likes and shares always gets the material out there to other people, for sure. I only need 5 more thousand followers. Hey, Coupon. Here's another vocabulary term that was on her exam this weekend. The inflammation of veins that form blood clots. That one was on her exam A of the CPC, AAPC, Medical Coding Certification exam. So I would put this one in the circulatory system. Oh, sorry, the venous valve, there you go. This works in conjunction with the musculoskeletal system. Muscles constantly are being tightened and released, and that pattern causes valves to open and close as needed. The tightening of the muscles result in the opening of the valves. Relaxation of the muscles result in the closing of the valves. Well, you know, it's up to you. I'm just providing the information for you. If you can remember on your own and you already know what these body parts or vocabulary mean, then you don't have to write them down. It's just totally up to you. I'm just telling you what was on her CPC exam this weekend. She took it on Saturday, and what she remembered are these terms. So if you're fixing to take your CPC exam, I mean, the more info you have, the better, right? So just knowing that these terms were used on the CPC exam is super helpful, I think. You can write it down if you want to, or you don't have to. You can wait for my process of elimination to start with some practice questions, and we can get started on that pretty soon. I was just trying to help out and share the information that was on her exam this weekend. We also had this one with the inflammation of the veins. It does cause blood clots. Some of the guidelines that were super important that she had to deal with on her exam were sepsis. I need to find, I have a sepsis one-sheeter guideline review. I was trying to find one more thing over here in a picture of the ovaries. Ovary OS. Not finding it. I hope so. If it records it, sometimes Angel, it does not record. TikTok is really funny. Sometimes they do not record. If it does record it and saves it on TikTok, then yes, I do post it on YouTube. But sometimes, 2 in a row last week, it did not record at all. Sepsis is real important. We need to make sure that you understand there's alternating guidelines depending on the diagnosis that goes with sepsis. That matters. So let's see. Bring up my, that's HIPAA, neoplasms. Sequel event. Here's sepsis. So this is my one-sheeter. I'll pull the screen out. If you want to screenshot that, sepsis comes in many forms, with or without acute or multiple organ failure. If there is severe sepsis, there's at least 2 diagnosis codes. Sepsis with no organ failure, you're in the A41.9. Sepsis due to staph infection with septic shock, you've got those 2 diagnoses because you're going to need 2 because you've got severe staph, right? And then if you've got sepsis with organ failure due to E. coli, you're going to code in this order 3 diagnosis codes. And then if you've got septic shock due to a bad infection of the appendectomy, you're going to do external cause one first before your diagnosis codes. Sepsis gets real confusing. These are the most common ones that they pick on during the exam. So if you get this written down in the A section of your ICD10 book, near the A41s, you'll have that listed. Those 4 examples right there. Then you can use those for reference during the CPC exam. So if they're giving you a sepsis with staph, you'll know right away how to code it. If they give you one with organ failure, you know you're going to need those at least 3 codes. So you won't pick one with just 1 or 2 codes as a possible answer. You know you're going to need 3. And this one required 4. So if you know the differences, we've got 1 diagnosis, 2 diagnoses, 3, and then 4. You've got 1 example of each one. Thank you for the heart. It will definitely help for sure. And if you need that later, I can send it to you. Be sure you know what RDS stands for. Thank you, Jess. Jess is going to be taking hers second week, I think, in November coming up. Be sure you know what RDS stands for. ABN, of course. What happens there? Why do we have it? What's going on? This term was on her CPC exam. Be sure you know where the phalanx bone is, where it can be found. I will try, Michelle. I really will. I hope it does record this. I just have no way of recording this video. I guess I do have screen record on this cell phone. I wonder. Well, I know I do on my other one. Let me see if this particular phone has screen record. I wonder. Ooh, it does. I'm really frustrated at TikTok not recording. So I'm going to start recording. It won't let me use the microphone because the microphone's in use, but I'm not sure. Maybe it'll record something. But I just turned on screen recorder, so maybe that'll help. So I hope it does save. So I'm going to start at the top. We went over what was on exam A from the CPC exam that one of my mentees, people that I mentor, took this weekend. She remembered words or jotted them down during her exam, circled CPT codes during her exam, tried to remember some of the question scenarios for us so she could share that information with you guys, which is so very helpful and very considerate of her to be thinking about others during the middle of her exam. It's amazing. It's really wonderful. You're taking it this week. Oh, good. I'm so glad I helped you prepare, Steffi. That's really great. What are the chances of me getting A or C again? I really hope so, Jess. Jay, I really do. You'll probably end up with B again, right? Or at least B. Then you would have taken the 3, you know. But who knows? I really... Yeah, me too. Hopefully, like Miss Steffi will get B this weekend or this week, and then she will come back and let us know what she saw on the exam. That would be wonderful. Just invaluable information that could be shared with others that are struggling too, and you could help somebody's family out really well by sharing that information if you have the time to circle anything, even just a CPT code here or there, or write down a vocabulary term here or there and then share it with me. I'll get it out in the world, and you could really make a difference and an impact on people's lives. And then helping their family helps their community, which helps us all in the end, you know. So we can keep trying to gather all the information we can on the different exams. So we went through the sigmoid bone. We went through what Medicare covers in each section, the venous valve, the thrombo, whatever it is, the inflammation of the veins. I'm not going to attempt some of these words. Sepsis, we've got our different versions of sepsis. You can either code with 1 code, 2 code, 3 code, or 4. I suggest writing these examples down in the A section of your CPT book, or your ICD10 book, I'm sorry. Be sure you know what acute respiratory distress syndrome is, what an ABN is, where the phalanx bones are located. That she had a triplet delivery where the first 2 were vaginal, the third one was C-section due to breech. And I wanted to remind everybody there is some 7th character information you need to make sure you recognize. That might help eliminate some answers. So if the 7th character in an answer didn't say 3, then you know you're not in the right answer to begin with. So be sure you know about that. There's also a code for multiple gestation. So you might want to know that for sure. I had a couple of little examples here. I don't have one for triplets. I need to find one, but Mary had twins. Second fetus was breech. They used this one for just the presentation of the second fetus. We need to make sure that we understand how to code with multiple guidelines, like injury with HIV, symptomatic patient, initial encounter for a sprained ankle, what would go first. You're going to end up doing your sprained ankle first and then your HIV, or this one who presented for appendicitis and a positive HIV. We ended up getting his history code in that one. There's also a lot of metastasized questions for the guidelines that she had. A patient had like brain cancer that moved to liver, and then now she had spots on her lungs. They did a chest x-ray and it showed 2 suspicious nodules on her lungs, was her example. So we need to make sure that you know how to code what would be first, second, or third. If she's there and getting the x-ray for the lungs, then the lungs will be coded first, then you'll do primary next, and then you'll do the secondary, which would have been her liver. So it gets crazy, but you need to make sure you stay straight in your guidelines no matter what's going on. So whatever the visit is for, just like with the HIV and the pregnancies and anything else, if one delivery of multiples, like twins, is more difficult than the other twin, one's vaginal, one's C-section, you'll always code the C-section baby first, even if it was second born. If they're here for lung cancer that they suspect is happening, you're going to code that, and then their primary cancer will be the secondary code. And then any secondary metastasis that's already been confirmed that they already know about, like the liver, will be coded next. So keeping these guidelines straight will be super key. I've been working and I finished the 2022 guidelines. I just want to add more examples to it. I've went through all the new guidelines, highlighted what was important, added charts, added some examples, especially to diabetes and some other things. I've actually finished the entire thing last night, so gone through it all, and I've done screenshots and things about where some of these code things are at, how you would code them in order based off what's going on. And then at the beginning is when you most needed the screenshots to tell you what things mean, and what it would look like. And then the next part of the guidelines are how do you code things when they're thrown at you, in what order. So I'm done. I just want to add some more examples on certain guidelines like sepsis. I've got diabetes done. I want to do some more OB and ortho. Maybe some of these HIVs. I've got the HIVs separated out into, it tells you, you know, if they're having symptoms or not having symptoms. Not having symptoms, if they're having symptoms, what would be first, second, third, and fourth. But it also helps to see like actual examples of what a question might look like, and then how a person would code off just what's in there. So I just need to add some more examples. But it's all typed this year, so you don't have to make out what I'm saying by reading my handwriting. And I definitely have a bunch of, I did 2 insulin diabetes ones, and then 2 just type 2 diabetes. So I did the diabetes ones, but I definitely want to do some more. examples in there. And then at the very end, I want to have a top 10 cheat sheet of just what guidelines are most important for the CPC exam. Just so you have, instead of having 100 and how many 104 pages to look through all the guidelines, you have a one sheet. Here's the 10 you really need to study. And because I've already got the examples up there in the original, you can go up there and work on those for sure. But hopefully this year's guidelines will be a whole lot better and easier for people to process with all the added information. I even went to like WebMD and wrote down, you know, what stages things are, stuff like that. So try to explain some diagnoses. Put in blue is my own word explanation. And then if you're looking for sequencing, I started at the very beginning. So for sequencing, anything in green is coded first. Anything in blue, that color blue, is colored second, is coded second. And then that's coded third. This one's coded fourth, and this one's coded fifth. Usually not anything else that's been listed has more than 5 sequencing, except for the external causes, but we have a whole color code for that. If it's key details, it's yellow. If it's a core detail, more important, it's in blue. And then if it's really like do not do or an exception to the rule, urgent detail, I put it in the red. So when you're going through all this stuff. Anyway, I hope it's helpful. I am going to bring up some practice exam questions so that we can work on some for the process of elimination. Just going to separate it out so y'all can't see the question real quick. Whoops. That was not what I was needing. Gonna check up on messages real quick. What's the chance? Oh gosh. Tiffany is having another shot on 11/14. I think that's about the time Jess is doing hers. And Steffi 11/2. Angels first is November 13th. I've got another Angie who's doing hers on the 23rd. ANG is 11/13. Gosh, so many of you at the end of the year here. It's so close to pass A. I know. I hope you get A again. Tiffany's doing hers again on 11/14. My YouTube channel. Here we go. Let me get up all that info. There we go. So YouTube is right there, just coding by Jen. I didn't realize I'd end up with a bunch of computer hackers trying to follow me, but I should have put medical coding, but I made it before I realized that. Medical Coding by Jen is the website that even if you just go to it, you don't sign up for anything, you just scroll down halfway down. I've got a 10-question E&M practice exam there. If you want to take it, it's super hard. It's for like people that have already passed, really. That's where I got the questions from, is AAPC makes us get CEUs every month. So it came from their questions, but I thought it was helpful because if you know what you should already know, then you're doing great. It also has a step-by-step guide in the website if you want to actually log on and get in there, and it shows you how to go through your book, your CPT book, and actually prep it for the CPC exam by doing all your boxing, adding in all the coding examples. All the pink codes are the codes that were part of my CPC exam. It'll show you how to distinguish between the codes and make sure that you note the differences. It'll show you how to fix your sequencing issue. We have a lot of codes that are out of numerical order, and this book is set up in numerical order, but we have some that are out of numerical order, and you need to learn how to fix that issue by writing the page number down. So it goes through all that with you too. That is all on Medical Coding by Jen. It just gives you screenshots of my book and shows you how to prep it for your CPC exam. The TikToks, y'all know where you're at there. And Messenger, if you find me on Facebook Messenger, Jen Brewer, it's the same profile pic as here on TikTok. I can add you to our messaging group. We have close to 100 people in there now, where we talk and chat every day, and I share information along the day. I quiz people too. Try to get some quizzes in there. Help out with some information on where to find
about
stuff.
anemia. You can look it up in your ICD10
do
book.
a quick video if I'm helping out people, but it's really good to chat in, and we discuss every day what's going on and how to help. And then, of course, if you just want a copy of all my notes that are in the CPT book, they're there. And that's where my guideline notes will be, too, as soon as I finish posting them. Let's do some process of elimination. Let's see, is the mock exam similar to the real exam? Sonia, it's different. Like the mock exam will ask you, what is PHI? And give you a list A, B, C, or D. But in the real question, on the real exam, it'll say which one of these is not PHI. And then it'll give you a list of scenarios. So it's a lot harder. The questions will probably be in reverse. They're not going to ask you a simple question like, what is PHI? And then have you regurgitate the definition. What they're going to ask you is which one is not, and then they're going to put psychology in it to make you think it's one answer or another. They're super close together. There might be one word or even just two letters of a word that make a difference that will make or break the question. So they're more difficult. Those practice exams hit it, but barely. It's more challenging. It's a lot more challenging at the real exam for sure. They're not just going to say, what is this? They're going to say, which is this, but except this. They're going to throw some crap at you. It's a little bit more challenging. And some of those AAPC practice exams haven't changed since 2019 too. So they're the same questions. I wish they'd update those. Oh, Wilson is taking it this Saturday. Oh, on my website too, guys, for you people that are fixing to have it, Medical Coding by Jen. If you want one-on-one tutoring with just me and the books, and I can go over specifically what you think your low points are, especially if you've taken the exam before, you send me your results and we can do a study plan just based off your results. But the one-on-one is super helpful because I can go straight into the questions that you want to know about and how to code certain things. But you can book that there at that Medical Coding by Jen website. But let me get you down. Wilson's going this weekend. Wilson this weekend. I like to catch up and see how everybody did this weekend. For the second time. Yeah, Wilson, you can, oh, I have an email address too. But it would be really, I've got 2 scheduled for this week too, tutoring. Let's see, I've got email right here at Medical Coding. Nope, it's just Coding by Jen. Good gracious, I wish I had it all consecutive. But just Coding by Jen. If I can get my email to come up again. codingbyjen@gmail.com. You can email me at that email address, your test results, and I can send you some suggestions on what you should study based off those results. But if you want the one-on-one tutoring, that's on the website, and you can schedule it. And I'm not formal. It says 40 minutes, but that's just what they said that I could get on Zoom for free. But some of them have been running for like an hour and 20 minutes, and Zoom hasn't been yelling at me. Just Zoom says you got to get a paid subscription if you do more than 40 minutes, but apparently not. They've all been running more than that. So I've got just 2 scheduled this week. That's it. One at 6 o'clock on one day and one at 10 o'clock on another day, but that's it so far. So if anybody wants any tutoring, that can go on. It's real helpful because it's hard during the live to get to everybody's questions. And I get to rambling on. But definite prayers for Wilson. Y'all do good. Do online exams have different versions? As far as I know, there's A, B, and C versions. They each have 50 exam questions. I have seen D, E, and F versions out there from somebody else who has... See, AAPC lets you be an instructor if you'll buy their curriculum for $3,000 a year, and then you can be your own instructor through AAPC. Those instructors can make up their own exams or practice exams through AAPC software, and I've seen some of those educators create their own practice exams and give those out to some of the students. And those have been different versions, but as far as I know, as AAPC alone, as itself, its own entity, it just has those 3 versions, but you can get different versions out of them if you pay the $2,500 or whatever to have an instructor-led program through their system. Oh, you're doing yours this weekend too? That is I Am Linda. Linda is doing hers this weekend too. Oh my gosh, so many new people. I Am Linda. Please let us know how you do on your exam. And like I said, people that share this information is so helpful. If you just write down a vocabulary word or circle a CPT code, that's what I've done. All the pink highlights are ones that were on my CPC exam, and then I share that information with you guys. So if y'all come back with any information that would help anybody else, that would be great. Y'all could help change somebody's life by sharing it. What's helpful is to know which version of the exam you have, A, B, C, or D, whatever, and then what vocabulary you ran into, what guideline scenarios you ran into, OB, sepsis, that kind of thing, and then what CPT codes were, just by circling those. Super helpful. And just doing hers this Saturday and Sunday. Unleashed Beauty this Saturday. So many. Oh my gosh. This Saturday. Oh my gosh. Is it hard to get a job in the field? I've never found it hard to get a job in the medical field when I wanted one, of course. You just go out there and get it. The main thing I suggest is get to know your medical community in your neighborhood. Any open health fairs, go to them. Talk to the employees at each one of the booths. See if they're hiring. Give them a resume or something. But, just talking to your community can lead you to leads. Oh, well, I heard so-and-so wants to hire, blah, blah, blah. Coding, outpatient surgery centers or ambulance services always have a pretty good turnover time for coders, because they require a lot of coding. The HitPix codes can be challenging for ambulance services, but I think they're pretty easy. And I'm working on updating the HitPix, like going through every code, eliminating all the garbage that you don't need with it, and then just saying what it is, so it would help out a whole lot. I'm working on my HitPix, but they seem to have more of a turnover than hospital or doctor's offices do for coders. So I would try with ambulance services and outpatient surgery centers for sure. And just get to know your community. If there's any doctor's offices going to have an open house, like join your community's Facebook groups about your city, town, whatever, and then they'll share that information. So-and-so is opening a cardiology group or something. Go to the open houses, network, chat with people. I know it seems stupid, but the more people you know, it's a small community no matter what the healthcare system is in whatever community. And just knowing somebody who refers you and says, go there, you can actually find a job pretty easily. I mean, I've never had a problem, but everybody's experience is different. The health plans are hiring right now, seasonal. October through March every year, each health plan needs people to go through and look through patients' EHRs, electronic health records, and search for missing mammograms, pap smears, and stuff. So if you can call the mammogram, like the surgery center or the radiology department, and do searches for mammograms where the date of birth is inverted, or they called her Sammy instead of Sandra. Really do a good search for that missing mammogram and find it, or she used her husband's insurance and it's at the military base, and get it transferred over to her health insurance. People that do a really good job at that seasonal work, searching for medical records, usually get to stay on, and it's all remote work. So any of the health plans are hiring right now for just doing HEDIS records. If you go to the website NCQA, there's a list of the HEDIS measures there, and it's just pap smears, mammograms. Every diabetic needs 2 hemoglobin A1Cs a year. Just anything. Anybody over 50 needs a colonoscopy, those kind of things. But familiarize yourself with the HEDIS measures. Say you've worked with a mentor who works in the HEDIS industry. I've also have won some awards in California for my HEDIS. I was trying to find a picture, but for my HEDIS measures, I've beat out people like Kaiser Permanente and stuff like that, because they hire all these computers or teams of people to do searches, and I'm really good at troubleshooting, so I can find a lot more medical records than they can. And I've won the Bassinger Award twice in California, and that's only given out to one medical group per year in California, and California's a big state. That's a big state, so it's really huge that I've won it twice. But you just need to be good at solving puzzles and go finding stuff that is hidden. So HEDIS is not hard. That's the award, the Ronald Bassinger Award. I won that twice. But you can get hired on with the health plans right now for seasonal, at least through March. You make nice and do a really good job, and then hopefully you could get hired on and just move on up through the company. But just network in your community. Go to any open house, any health fairs, talk to everybody. You're going to do, okay. Our lease RAM is going to be working on her course next month. And you missed the messenger group name. Well, I didn't really give out the messenger group name because you really can't join it by requesting it for some reason. I'm not sure how I set it up, but just come find me on Messenger. It's just Jen Brewer, same profile pic as what's here on TikTok. Me and two of my boys and then two of their friends. Find me, message me there, a direct message, and then I can join you into the group, because the group, I don't think you can find it or something. I don't know. It's medical, it's coding by Jen, and it's got all that in it, but I don't know why people can't find it. But once you're in the group, you can add anybody you want and join all you want there. To mentor, it's $27 for an hour with me and my books, in case I forgot to mention that. Other than that, I think it's super helpful. Yeah, Casey, we're waiting for her results. So hardcore. I thought it was there. Let's see. Come on. All right, then let me find my old book here. I've got to answer your question. So, what am I doing? Yeah, I need that one. Ooh, my old book. Old book. So, the ICD10 guidelines, these were done very poorly. I wasn't expecting anybody to see these. These are just done by me, and they're not color coordinated. So if you're going to write anything in the very front of your book, be sure and use different colors for different words. So if you start listing one thing, be sure when you move on to another subject, change colors, because that makes things pop out more. So NCCI makes me think that that's the compensation for like workman's comp or something. So we have some CPT codes, or the CPT codes in the back here for workman's comp. If you're filling out some workman's comp, or probably won't be able to find them, but we have some codes back here that if you're gonna fill out some paperwork, oh, that's for the advanced directives, for workman's comp, right here, the NCCI regulates the paperwork for workman's comp, and these are the two office visit codes you use for working in and filling out that paperwork. The other one down here at the bottom is for disability or life insurance policies right there. But those two are for the workman's comp, and the NCCI is a National Council on Compensation Insurance. So hopefully that helps. There's also the National Correct Coding Initiative. That could be probably what you're looking for. They have policies and procedures. They're all listed on the CMS website. So is the workman's comp one. Kind of like MIPS. So MACs are, so if you have, go back to this again. You have the guidelines that they put out in the ICD10. And then you've got to have companies come out and they audit them. So the National Coverage Determination organization interprets the guidelines, and then they send those interpretations down to the Medicare Administrative Contractor, which is MAC, which the NCCI, if you're talking about the coding, the National Correct Coding Initiative, will take that interpretation from the MAC, who interprets what the NCD interprets, reinterpret it down to the local coverage determination, which will then send that interpretation down to the regionals. All that goes into making sure that people are correctly coding and that initiatives can be going out so that all that work is done, and that if you are coding correctly, I'm not sure what kind of initiative they're talking about, but I'm assuming they started out with the pay for performance, the PQRI program, the HEDIS program that I talk about, and other programs can get paid if they're using the interpretations of the guidelines from all these centers appropriately, and everybody's coding appropriately. That's why you're going to see the MAC and other things listed here. Super high involved in the regulatory guidelines in all of this. It's nothing that you would need to know for the CPC exam, But once you're out into the real world, if you want to learn more about incentive programs, it's highly sought after by companies who want to make sure that their EHRs are capturing information correctly and that it's being reported correctly so that they could get into and participate in some of the initiative programs. And that's a way that you can not only get your salary covered, but you can also recoup more information or more incentive money from the health plans and from CMS to get other programs paid for in your community. Like I know when I found more money for my group, they brought out the mammogram shuttle, so it would go around the city and provide mammograms for people that couldn't get to a radiology center. So things like that can be super helpful for your community, but also you can feel better about your salaries covered because you found all this money. It's kind of cool. So that's where all that stuff comes in. It was also listed on the coding on test question A. I'll put that information down. So I guess if CPC was talking about anything, it would have to be about the National Correct Coding Initiative. So, I mean, they probably care about the workman's comp situation. It's also an NCCI derivative, and the company or the government entity that covers workman comp is called NCCI also. So they need to be more specific. I'm sure it was initiated in the question appropriately, so you know which one we were talking about. But yeah, probably the National Correct Coding Initiative is probably there. I have a test question that wanted to go over. So, of course, we've got the 3-7 listed in all of them. Then we've got the 0-0 listed in 2. And then that 3-8 is just out there by itself. So, interesting one right here. And we're back in the very back of the book. And I don't go there very often and look up very many codes. We're mostly in cardiology, radiology. It's probably medicine is probably as far as I go usually. So I wanted to go over this one. This test question was simply caloric vestibular testing using air. And so if we get back here to the CPT codes with this vestibular function test, we've got the option of using this one with its child code, probably on the other side. And it used a lot of terms. Monothermal means one irrigation of the ear, or 2 irrigations. It does have some modifier notification and some do nots. It does say that the 92537 and the 92538 cannot go together, so we can eliminate B based off that. So what about the 927 with it then? Does it say that we're supposed to use it with it? No, it says don't use it together. So it says that A and B are not going to be your answer. So your only option is the 37 by itself or the 2700 by itself. And this is one of the ones that you really need to know. What are they doing here? What's going on with this exam? The 92700, I can't find it, is simply just the unlisted version of that procedure. And that's all the information you're getting. And this one is bit thermal. So the test question said test using air. Based off what's on the CPC or at least the CPT descriptor, which one would you use? The unspecified or this one? This one tests, if you're having a lot of dizziness, unexplained vertigo, they'll put air into your ears to see, and they'll also irrigate them with water and stuff, but to see if they can induce your vertigo and to see if they can't help. I was trying to figure out how we could figure out how they came up with the right answer and see what y'all thought would be the answer on this one. Yes, my kids, and I have the door shut, and they're playing the Xbox 360 on the drum set with the guitar thing, the Guitar Hero thing. Yeah, it's going to be the unspecified. And when I was working with someone during their right here, during their tutoring, I forgot to write. We could actually put AKA, if we wanted to, by this 2700 code. If I can get my pen to write. AKA caloric Vesti test with air. Jay, Travis, quit hitting so hard, honey. They can hear you with the door shut in here. You're not changing. You want it all, but you can't have it. It's the song that is on right now, and there's nothing I can do about the sound. I can turn on maybe a fan or something in here to drown them out, but that's as close as I'm gonna get. At least they're not destroying the house. They're super annoying, distracting for sure. But that one was interesting. And it's so wordy over here where the original code is, because I had some examples of these here. How would you know which this doesn't include air? So it's very weird. That one was difficult. I didn't like that question. But I wanted to make sure everybody knows about it. Right upper eyelid modifier. That one's not too difficult if you know your modifiers, for sure. This one would be really good to know because it's analyzing amniotic fluid. So where's my draw thing? We've got 80 in these two. So you wouldn't have to look up those. So you could either look up the 67 or the 43. When you're doing something for genetic testing and you're in the lab and you're doing and analyzing stuff, more than likely you're not going to have just one code. And I wouldn't pick this one because these two are the same as far as they have 3. Sometimes you can't go off them numerically. You just need to go how they're bundled. So I would pick B and C as what I like because they're bundled the same. This one only has 2 codes. This one only has 1. So I like these two because they're just bundled the same. So I'd look up the difference between 67 and 73. So 88, 2. And I believe amniotic fluid or sperm washing, both are on the CPC exam, no matter what version you get. 88267. We've got, it does say chromosomal, it does say amniotic fluid. The 88273 right here does say chromosomal, but it doesn't say anything about amniotic fluid. And because this one said the amniotic fluid, that's the one that I would pick, would be B, and move on. Without having to stare at genetic two-band karyotypes or something, just the amniotic fluid was your key term in that example. And if you did look up the 48 and the 85 and the 62, you will find that the 67 is the only one that actually said amniotic fluid. Funny, funny. Let me bring up another one real quick. While we're talking anatomy, what is a person with lab rhinitis? Inflammation. Is that inner ear, brain, conjunctive, or spine? That one. Not really a lot you can do here for getting rid of anything, except for the spine is located really far away from the ear, brain, and conjuncti. It's the only thing I can think of. And since these three are super close anatomically together, it would be between those. And yeah, Jess, you're right. Inner ear, for sure. Now, if I was looking at this one, this 44, I really like A and D because they start out with the same answer, right? So I would get rid of B and C. This also has an external cause code in it, the T. You know right away there's an external cause. So let's look backwards in the question to see if we have a reason to give this person a external cause. I should also change this. I probably can't do it from here. I need to have the whole screen to see the part where I change it from full screen to part screen. I can't ever find that when I want it. So this one did have a leak following a decompression procedure. And if you look up that T81-4, I bet that's an external cause for having that leak after a pressure. Don't know. But I don't see anything in here that's got anything about like they were hit in the head with a baseball. Anything that would fall along in the lines of an external cause that we would have. I doubt there's any external cause from a previous procedure. That would be more of a modifier thing, like if they had to go back and redo a surgery for some reason. So if we're just looking for an external cause for like baseball, anything like that, then, and we don't have it, then A is just going to be our answer on this one for sure. Do y'all know how to code the simplest things? Like, where would you find hypertensive heart disease with congestive heart failure? That one question was on mine, and that is pretty hard to code actually, unless you're working in codes and know how to find it and do it. I always thought that one was difficult, and I'm not sure why, but it was always something that I struggled with. And I think it's because there's not one specific, like one code that says the whole thing all at once, or a way to look it up even in the index. So is this one code, hypertensive heart disease with congestive heart failure? Is that one code or two? Because that would help eliminate two answers before you even looked up any codes. What I see here is more groups. So we've got a group of 3, a group of 1, and then 2 groups of 2. So just based off process of elimination, I would get rid of the 1 group, and I would get rid of the 3 group, and I would keep this one and this one because they're bundled into 2 codes. So now all you have to do is decide which one do you code first off the guidelines off of this, right? So 2 codes. Perfect, Jess. So do we code the hypertension first or the COPD first? Congestive heart failure. I don't know why I'm saying COPD. CHF. Good gracious. I probably been saying that the whole time. CHF. I swear I don't wake up till midnight. Based off the guidelines for hypertensive heart disease, we are definitely going to code the heart disease first, because it's the congestive heart failure. You don't end up with just congestive heart failure for no reason. You have to have a reason why it's secondary due to the heart disease. First, you get high blood pressure for a little while, and a couple of decades later, you end up with swelling and the fluid building up around your heart if you leave your hypertension untreated. So knowing what would come first in the disease process can help you out. So you're definitely going to code the hypertensive part first, and then your congestive heart failure afterwards. Good job. What about 46 here? We've got HIPIX codes, right, on all of these. So this is a 10-year-old who's going to get something, an application of a short cast. So where are short casts in the HIPIX book? Are they in the A's or are they in the Q's? Where would you find that? That could help you eliminate something quicker if you just happen to know what category things are in. Yep, Kimberly, A is your right answer. It's a temporary code, and I really hate the fact that they use temporary codes in the exam. I really think they shouldn't. They also, since this is a short arm cast, and this is under the temporary codes, they've also got an S code that has come up in one of the CPC exams. Did I write that one down yet? As part of Part A of the CPC exam. I don't see it off the top of my head real quick, but did find toxic effects of eating mushrooms accidentally. That was interesting. That's a good one. They usually do toxic effects from medications taken appropriately. Where was her S code? And drive me nuts till I find it. The pancreas maintains what for the body? That one was in there. This is probably the one with the S code. The one I was looking for. No, they used a J code. So this one, we've got an S code, but we've got the 2 J's. And since we have 2 J's, that's what I would concentrate on. I'd go to the 01 and the 06, see what the difference is, see if I can match up with these. You have to make sure you really go letter by letter matching up these HitPix codes, because there are so many drugs that are 1 to 2 letters off in the middle from each other. These drug meds get really intricate with their differences. And if you're not going letter by letter during your exam, you're probably going to miss a simple HitPix one for not doing that, because you're going to see the first word you assume is spelt that way, and you're going to pick that code and get it wrong because you didn't go letter by letter. J73. And then 06. So they said 01, which is Aleve, ONOR, gesto release. And then this one is ONOR, gestural. Looks like they're spelt the same. This one's the implant, which is what they were looking for. And then the 01 is an IUD, intrauterine contraceptive system. So they were looking for the actual implant system. So make sure you really pay attention to these meds. They get crazy with some of the names. That ONO is another intrauterine. There's another intrauterine. There's another one. Then they have the copper. Oh, another intrauterine. They go on for miles, and it's all the same word. You really need to pay attention to the tiny details on some of those, for sure. I'm going through there and trying to write up something for HitPix to make it easier, and you get stuck with 10 of the same drug but delivered in 5 different ways. It can be really crazy. This is the question about the local determination. The local determination coverage, it gets published after those other 2 companies go through it. The MAX and the NCD go through those guidelines, and then the local coverage gets passed down to the regions. So they may ask you some questions about that kind of stuff. This one, the answer happens to be D, the reasonable necessity of conditional coverages for items and services. I'm trying to see if there's anything here. You know, I think that A and C were kind of close because they ended in the same length of the sentence and they ended with code. Service is different from something else. So sometimes trying to do a process of elimination isn't really helping. You just need to know exactly what's the information is supposed to be. So be sure you know LCD means reasonable and necessary conditions. That would be helpful if you had that in the front of your book. Which place of service is for a surgery center? Does anybody know that one? That would be the very first page in your CPT book if you're looking for place of service. I think 11 is like your doctor's office. That or lab, one of the two. There she is. There's that S code. What in the heck is that one? The monitoring of the device for the blood glucose. That was an interesting one. Who rents a glucose monitoring device anymore? Most of the strip people, the manufacturers of the glucose strips, give out those machines like they're candy, just so they can get reimbursement for the strips for machines. Nobody rents a glucose device anymore. It may be for one of those devices that are coming up now where they automatically check your blood sugar continuously. You know, nowadays you don't need to prick your finger. You've got a device that's already stuck into your skin 24/7 and it automatically works through your skin. But there's that code. So I'd know everything around it that could be considered close. The 30 and the 31 look like they're very similar. So you need to make sure you know the difference between those two codes and which one it would be. For sure. D is for an office visit, and we're at a surgery center. Ambulatory surgery center. So which is the location? It's not D, because D is like a doctor's office. Or the lab, I always forget, but it's one of those. Yeah, it's C. I still love this Nader's book that describes what the procedure is. I'm back on the ear again. It does a really good job of describing what the body parts do and then exactly what's going on in the CPT code related to those. It'll list the CPT codes in that area that are with this and tell you what's going on in small, clear terms. I like it. This is the cochlear implant. If you wanted to know more about it, and it be smaller information, and then what codes are about the procedure, and then what they're doing during the procedure to what bone parts. It's a really cool little book. I hope to incorporate a lot from it too in the guidelines, and then even more so in the CPT descriptions this year when I go through each CPT section. And I'm showing you the name of the book. When I go through the CPT codes and do each code, I'm going to use stuff from his book and just put it in my own words, what he's saying, so that I'm not copywriting him. But I like how they've divided up the codes and then told you based off those codes. Then they draw the pictures and they do more descriptives about the particular surgery to tell you more, because you really don't get a lot of what is this procedure and how would they describe it in case they're doing a case and then all you're getting is what they're doing to the body and they don't name a procedure, and then you got to figure out what the CPT code is. So, and then it'll draw pictures of it and then tell you what CPT codes are involved in that surgery. So that's a little wordy, but it's how they do the procedure for word. So when we're going here, that's all we get is about what a procedure is doing. And sometimes it's not enough information. Not that I'm going to put all that mess in there, but definitely going to make sure that you got more information on some of these CPT codes, especially about what different surgeries are, whether they're open, closed, procedures, something that will help you during the exam besides just the small little bit of description that we get through the descriptor. And they've got even more vocabulary for us too for those particular sections. So excited to get started on those notes for next year too. And our STEMI question. Ooh, I did do, there's my guidelines. Hold on just a sec. Get this going where I can actually use it. To be able to find it. And it's practically there. These not that one. Right here. I put in notes that these two test questions are going on in the exam. We've got the one where the evolves and converts, they all convert or evolve into STEMI, and then we've got that extra one that goes into that dermal thing. Super cool. This one right here, that particular part, can be on the exam. So if the question starts out with the AMI, then you know your answer is going to be that particular word on the CPC exam. If your test questions start out with STMI converts or evolves, you know your answer is always going to be STEMI, no matter what. And then if your test question starts out with AMI, the answer is going to be the one that says this non-transdural. That's two questions that we know are usually on there. Test question A. Did I have any more? That was the one with the patient that had the appendicitis and HIV. And then we have more of the cancer neoplasm ones. The fetal examples. Those were the 6,000 series we did the other night. I hope we caught everybody up on those for sure. Come on. Focus. Focus, focus, focus. Camera. There we go. Pretty easy one here. Anytime you see any of the words listed here, you know you're working on the hernias. Pretty easy one there. A fracture of the ACE. I added this to our anatomy in the musculoskeletal section because of this test question. Does anybody remember where I left it? I drew it in on. That is part of the pelvis region. When you see ACE, think pelvis. Yeah, G16. Where is the abductor Alias muscle at? It's in the foot. Now on this one, if I was going based off the process of elimination, I'd get rid of B and D because they're not like the others. This one and this one, I wouldn't even look up the first code because they're the same. The only difference is a C code and either a history of code or something like that. And then this is probably what? We're in the cancers, right? Somewhere around in there. So I would just kind of peruse the question real quick just to see what we're doing. And it does look like she does have some sort of cancer cells going on of her cervix. And that alone yeah. See, all this beginning is just negatory anyway because it says it was all benign. It's just not even telling you why she's here today. So right here we need to be doing why she's even here. That's why I like looking at the question from the bottom up and looking around. And she does still have concerns that they still might find something there. The fact that they're saying history of, right? Definitely giving you a hint. Which one are you going to pick? She doesn't have that cancer biopsy or diagnosis until she's given the diagnosis. She had this procedure done before and they found it to be benign last time, right there. See? And she still hasn't gotten that diagnosis. This was just all fluff to tell you she keeps coming in and we keep doing biopsies. She's still concerned she's got this. So we'll do C. This one was a good one to talk about too. When do you give a patient diagnoses that are symptoms? So There's a guideline for this one also. Let me take this off of this crane. So maybe y'all can sort of see this. Sorry. So this patient has a productive cough, shortness of breath. Those are all symptoms of an underlying condition, right? And so they did a chest x-ray, which indicates the patient has pneumonia. So, how many diagnoses would she have? Would she have all three? Or would she have just one diagnosis? You need to know your guidelines for this. Your guideline for this one is you can code symptoms along with the main diagnosis as secondary diagnoses if it is a complex syndrome. So is pneumonia a complex syndrome? That's the only direction we get, and you have to use your own discretion to tell you whether pneumonia is a complex syndrome or not. Now, if she had sepsis with pneumonia with organ failure and things like that, I might consider her to have some sort of multi-symptom syndrome that would be more complex. But simple pneumonia that was diagnosed with an x-ray, I would not code any of her symptoms. So you wouldn't code any of her R's at all. Now, if she has like long haulers from COVID where her symptoms come and go and they change, or if you've got some of those patients who have fibromyalgia or a multi-symptom pain syndrome of some sort where symptoms come and go, you need to code their symptoms with it because they change from one time to another and it becomes difficult, and that's the only way we can track which symptoms they're having today versus another day, because their diagnosis is covered under the particular diagnosis of that syndrome, but we need to know what symptoms they're having on this particular visit because they do alternate. But for simple pneumonia, not that it's simple, when you have pneumonia you feel like you're dying, especially with this one has double pneumonia, it's just going to be the one diagnosis code for this one. And the guidelines, I wish they were more black and white, but they just simply state you can, but not for simple, clear-cut things. You only use them in complex syndromes, is exactly what it says. Yeah, for 4:30 does come early, and I got started really late, for sure. This one, we've got external causes at the beginning, or we have external causes at the end. So if you're evaluating this, you can scroll up and see what's going on with the patient really quick, and you can see that the patient is having an issue, right? They're having slow heartbeat due to Demerol, so they're having a reaction to a medication that was prescribed and administered properly. So there's a guideline tied to this that tells you which one goes first. And it's definitely one of the guidelines you really want to know during your CPC exam. So for this one, you don't list the medication first because it was prescribed properly. Now, if they were poisoned by something or overdosed on something, you definitely want to do your drug first, which is going to be your T code. But because this was prescribed and given and administered properly, then they had a reaction to it, you're going to note the reaction first, and then you're going to do the medication second. So, C's your answer again on this one. The 5 is the difference between the medications, Demerol versus something else. Alright guys, it is 8:30 here, and I'm sure it's super late where y'all are at. 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30. It's almost midnight. Get some rest, guys. I will post this on YouTube, and we will have another live. What night would work best for y'all? Wednesday night? Does that sound good? We'll do one Wednesday night and Friday night since we have so many coming up this weekend. I'll put in 2 more. I'll make sure the laptop and the presentation is working much better for these 2 nights. I'll set up a TikTok event for those 2 nights, and I will have the guidelines, which is all on my brain, done and posted tomorrow and out of the way, so I don't have to worry about those anymore during my live. And I will see y'all again on Wednesday night. And reminder, if you want to join our Messenger chat group where we work every day on codes in this test, please just find me on Messenger. I think you can download the Messenger app without having Facebook too, and just have Messenger. Find me at Jen Brewer, same profile pic, and I will add you to our group. If you want a copy of my notes, page by page, of the CPT book for prep, you're very welcome, guys. The link is in the bio, and there's a coupon there too. If at any time you need more of a discount or having issues, anything going on financially, just let me know. Email me, message me, TikTok me, whatever. I'm happy to help with whatever I can. Absolutely. So I will see y'all again on Wednesday night, and I'll set up a event so that y'all can sign up for it, so that TikTok will notify you as soon as I go live. But it'll be the same time, 6:30 Arizona time zone on Wednesday night. I'll see y'all then. Spencer, I'll be posting the guidelines in the link in my bio. As soon as I'm off the TikTok live, you'll be able to see it. You just click on Jen Brewer 414 on TikTok, and there'll be a link that you can click on, and that'll take you to the site where I post all my pages, and my guidelines will be there. Hopefully tonight, if not first thing tomorrow. So they'll be there before Wednesday. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.